so many people are so caught up in their own shit that they really don't care about what you're doing. And if they do care about what they're doing, you shouldn't be like focusing on those people anyways, because they have way too much time on their hands. Last year of my life has changed like astronomically. I like pressure, like I thrive under pressure. So I think like I was just like eyes wide open. I was like, wow, like I'm not gonna be able to live the life that I want. 2 weeks later, I moved out of my parents' house.
Just go out and do it.
Yeah, I made a lot of life changes after that. And so for me, that was like, okay, pressure's on. Like you got rent to pay now. Like,
what did the first day look like?
I was like, oh boy. Like,
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Tool for Eyes podcast, the #1 podcast in Winnipeg. Please like, comment, subscribe. Get us to 1,000 subscribers. Take it away.
We're switching it up. You do the intro this time, so I'm doing a guest. Today we have the CEO, CFO, CMO, CTO, the owner, the founder, the co-founder, well, so just her, of Neula Marketing Agency. Please welcome Brynn Hofsted.
thank you so much, guys. That's quite the introduction. I mean, not a lie.
Not a lie. You are a person that wears all the hats.
You're correct. You're correct. Yeah.
So you own a marketing agency.
Correct.
And you do everything in it.
For the most part. So like I do, like I'm a solo founder. I own it myself. I do not have like a team under me that does a bunch of other things, but like for the most part, yeah, like I wear all the hats in terms of like day-to-day operations. So
what is that like?
it's a lot, honestly. Very stressful, very time intensive, but very rewarding too. So it's a grind is what it is.
Wow.
Definitely.
How is it like to go from a 9 to 5, right?
Yeah.
Set hours.
Yeah.
We talked about this before off the podcast, but yeah, what was that like switching to a 24-hour job?
Yeah. So I think, I mean, whenever you're looking at entrepreneurship, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I have all this flexibility and freedom and all of that, which is true. Like I have lots of flexibility over my schedule, but yeah, definitely it's not a lie when people say you go from a 9 to 5 to a 24/7. There's a lot of time involved in it. So I'd say like just having a lot of like drive and dedication has been like a big thing to it to actually make it work. Obviously it's really nice to be able to just like check out of a 9 to 5, you know, finish your stuff, close out for the day. So I don't really get to do that now the same. Work-life balance is something I need to work on anyways. But yeah, that was for sure like a very big change going from like corporate to starting my own agency.
How did this journey start? Where does this journey start for Brynn?
That's actually a great question. I don't know exactly where it would have started, like entrepreneurship wise, honestly. I was very interested in business for a while. My dad's in sales, so I kind of saw that sort of thing. I went to school, studied business, and majored in marketing at Red River. I didn't want to do a lot of school, so I was like 2 years, let's bang it out.
Yeah.
And then after that, I freelanced for a bit. I was just like interested in working for myself, doing that sort of thing. And I think that really opened my eyes about like what's, you know, like the potential, like money-wise, schedule-wise, all of that. So I went back to working corporate. That was like another wake-up call. I was like, I don't want to do this. And then that's really when I was like, hey, I'm going to start my own thing again.
Did you always have that drive of like wanting to, you know, own your own business and then like working on your own hours? Or was it more of like going into the corporate lifestyle and realizing how miserable it can be? Because I've been there, done that. And
yeah.
like, you know, you find your passion in terms of like, yo, I don't want to have to be told to like, for example, working at the movie theaters, I don't want to go pick up the garbage.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you don't want to like sell popcorn.
Yeah.
Even though it's a part of my job, but
Yeah.
still, like, what was the switch to like being like, okay, let's do this entrepreneur thing?
Yeah, you know, I think definitely. So at the time that I was working corporate, I was offered a marketing manager position at like 20 years old. So that alone was like a big reason why I went into corporate, because I was like, shit, like this is I don't know if I can swear on here. This is like a big title for like a 20-year-old, right? And so I was like, of course I need to take this, like really good experience. Obviously I was managing the entire business's marketing, so it was amazing, like just an amazing opportunity. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I think that, so like as a 20-year-old, I was living at home, you know, costs were low, all of that. But even like just with my salary that I was being paid, which is also conventionally like a very good salary, especially for a 20-year-old, I was just like, I cannot, like, I'm not going to be able to live the life that I want on this. And obviously there was room for, you know, building it up and whatever, but I was like, I don't think I can be just like a salaried employee, take, like, it's gonna sound selfish, but like I just couldn't take like demands from other people and just like it just didn't work with my brain, you know. And I was like, I just knew that I wanted so much more, and like I was like meant for so much more almost. And I think that after working corporate for like a year and a half ish, honestly, like my boss was amazing. I had flexible hours. It was actually like not as structured as like some corporate opportunities are. So I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, I just realized with like how much I was being paid, kind of like didn't love the work, and I was like, this is not for me. I need to like do something about this.
What was the conscious effort to go into like the world of social media and marketing?
I would say, so like, I think that especially like in business school, obviously we learned like all different areas of business, like finance, accounting, HR, marketing. I always really liked the creative side of things. So that's kind of like what drew me to marketing, I'd say. And then social media, I mean, like I grew up on social media as like most of us have now. And I think that it was just always something I was more interested in. Obviously, like a lot of marketing in general today is like it's all moving more towards social and online versus, you know, kind of like your typical traditional forms of marketing. So I think I just saw like the opportunity for it and then really just like took that with my interest in it and ran.
Do you think that business degree really helped? Because I like I'm the type of like we discuss this often on the podcast. It's like if you really want a business degree or you really want to learn the world of marketing, you don't need a degree to tell you that you can do marketing, right? You
No.
just go out and do it.
Yeah.
So how applicable was that degree to what you do now?
Like almost nothing. Like almost nothing. I would say whenever people ask me this, like if anyone ever asks me like how do I start something like what you've done, I never tell them to go to school because honestly like I just don't think it's needed. There's so many ways to learn the exact same skills in so many other forms for like less money and way less time. So in general, yeah, no, I don't think school is needed. I've learned so much more just like doing it and like, you know, yeah, just like working on my business itself. Basically like school would have taught me how to be a really great employee in any of those areas, but told me nothing about how to start a business. I had no idea what I was doing. Yeah, so yeah.
No, I remember so me and him took a marketing class with Asper School of Business.
Yeah.
And I'm not a marketing. I was in sciences my entire. He's in engineering.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's like I think you convinced me to take the marketing class, and we took the class. And the reason we took the class was because we had the podcast at the time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I'm going to learn about social media. I'm going to learn about how to like run marketing
Yeah.
for the show. And great guy who the prof was, but we didn't learn any of that.
No.
We learned like the 4 Ps of something.
Yeah,
like,
product, price, place, promotion.
I don't even remember any of that.
We learn how to do a SWOT analysis.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, I want to learn like how to social media, like how do I grow this thing?
Yeah.
And so that's when after that we're like, I'm not taking any other business class
I know.
ever. Like we're just gonna jump into it and we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way to do it. You know, I mean, just my observation, but like it seems, especially with like marketing and stuff in school, I can just speak from my experience that like it literally is like 10 years behind what they're teaching, right? Like nothing really is current. When I was studying, like we had one digital marketing class and like we had to like make a feed mock-up of like a social media grid and stuff, but like nothing, like it was crazy because that's like such a big part of marketing these days for so many brands, like the social aspect. So the fact that was like barely taught is kind of crazy. But like I would say that it was great for, you know, like the fundamentals, like you said, like learning how to do a SWOT analysis, which is important for businesses, but the actual like applicable things that you need to know in a day-to-day to like actually run a business is not really there.
I agree to that. Like you need that foundation. You need to understand what a SWOT analysis is. You need to know 4 Ps of marketing. Yeah. But I also feel like you can learn that quick YouTube search.
No, right? Literally, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like you definitely don't need to be like sitting in a classroom listening. Like, I even had we actually had someone with one of my clients someone who's very like knowledgeable in business. He wanted to do like a quick breakdown of like the 4 Ps for us again. And he did it in an hour, and he just like banged it out. And I was like, that literally took like a month for us to go through in school. I was like, oh my gosh, like there's just so many more effective ways to learn the same information so much quicker and like so much more reasonably too.
Yeah, I think the learning also is more hands-on too,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because when you're in the world of social media and you're like a marketing agent, you're like, what's my product?
Yeah.
What's my price for it?
Yeah.
Am I going to promote it?
Yeah.
Those are the P's right there. So
Yeah.
you're just going to learn that as you go
Exactly.
instead of
Writing it
writing
down.
it
Yeah,
down, like,
no, exactly.
how does that help me? So
Yeah.
that was one thing when I took the course. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
we're just going to do this
Yeah.
instead of actually taking courses
Yeah.
on it. But no, I respect the guy. He was a great guy.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah,
He was a very well established,
yeah, all of
entrepreneur.
my instructors, same thing too. Like they're like, I still talk to a few of them
Yeah.
today. Like they're amazing people, very knowledgeable, but it's just, yeah, like how school in general is built. It really is built on helping like the workforce and like helping people become really great employees, which is awesome because people like that,
We need that.
organizations need that. But yeah, if you're wanting to not go that route, that's where it's a little tougher for sure.
When did you realize like you don't want to go this route? Like I know like, you worked your corporate job and that's where you kind of like figured it out. But I feel like there's always, whether you're like a child or you grow up or like, I don't know, like seeing your parents do the sales thing, but there's got to be like a deeper reason as to why like, the reason why we do this podcast, the reason why you have a marketing agency. What's your why?
I think that, so like I grew up, like my family was like absolutely amazing. My family was so supportive. And they've obviously been like a really great like foundation to like everything that I'm doing. I would say that I think I heard a lot of stuff growing up just from like family members and other people of like they wish they could do this or they're gonna do this whenever, and it never ends up happening. And I feel like I've seen a lot of people become stagnant and just not reach what they know is their full potential. And so I think a big driver for me is like I don't want to be one of those people. Like I want to say something and I want to actually go do it. And I don't want to keep myself stuck in a place that I don't love just because I don't want to like put the extra time or the extra effort.
Right.
So I think that was probably like the big reason behind what I do and like why I do it.
You mentioned that you didn't want that to be your life. You wanted something more. What was that more?
I think pretty like expansive on like what I want. Like, I think, I don't know, I don't have a very, very clear cut exact vision honestly now, because this last year of my life has changed like astronomically. Like if you would have known me a year ago, you'd be like, who is this girl? Like it's so different. So I think that this last year has honestly made me like even open my eyes bigger to like the goals that I had before. I'm like, those were so small. Like I almost just keep myself like open and like just, ready to move and pivot as it sees fit. But, I always say like, I want to build an empire. I want to have like a really cool team around me. I want to be with a really cool group of like entrepreneurs and like-minded people. I'd love to have like, multiple houses around the world. Just have like a very like abundant life. And so I don't like putting specific things on it just because I've seen how much can change so quickly. But I just think pretty like expansively on that, I guess.
Do you think a lot of that was fueled by social media nowadays? Like seeing how, young teenagers are exposed to the world of like, oh, I'm a 20-year-old, I have a Lamborghini and I fly around the world in a private jet. Like, is that kind of what fueled that journey for you?
You know what? That's actually a really great question. I haven't thought of it like that. I think in general, actually here, you know what? I just had a thought come to mind. So yes, potentially partly that. Going back a little bit to like, so in April, I took my first solo business trip ever by myself. Actually, my first solo trip ever. I was like terrified of flying before that. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go and we're gonna get on this plane and whatever. And now I fly all the time and it's great. But anyways, in April, so like obviously I had all these goals and I was seeing all these people doing things, but I actually had no one in my circle that was doing anything like that. So although I had the goals and I was like, I want this, I had no one to be like, that I could physically see to be like, they've done it. Right. And I went to Toronto in April for a founders dinner that I was not supposed to be at. I was well under the revenue like point of like who was allowed to be there. But I got on the invite list. I'm like, I'm going, like I'm showing up to this. And anyways, I ended up making just this amazing friend group from this dinner. And I spent a week with them in Toronto. I was supposed to fly back the next day. And they are all just like these incredible entrepreneurs, all in their like mid to late 20s, just doing wild things. And I think that being with those people for that week, I don't even know if I've told them this actually, so maybe they'll see it on here, but I think that that was honestly like a really, really big pivot point because it put everything together to be like, you know, these people who I, you know, have spent time with and I'm very similar to have done this. So it took it from just like seeing it on social to like actually seeing it in real life, and like being, you know, around and consumed by it. So I can't remember your initial question,
Yeah.
but hopefully that
sums it
answers
up.
that.
Yeah, 100%.
What'd you learn from those people?
I think that a big part was, I mean, I talked with them quite a bit. Like we had like some like, you know, deep late night talks about, you know, just all of that. And I think that the biggest thing that I learned is just not giving up. You know, a lot of these people had so many things to overcome. You know, business could have gone sideways so many times and they just like, you know, kept at it. So that was definitely a big thing. And I think that also just spending the time with them, I realized that like my day-to-day and like what I do is really not that different than them. They've obviously just had years of, you know, time to build and compound on top of me. And I think seeing that was very eye-opening and very motivating because I was like, there's no reason that I can't do what they've done as well. Yeah.
As high as the highs can be of entrepreneurship, I'm sure that's not always the case. There's always the lows.
Yes.
What's the lows been like for you in terms of your business journey? Like,
yeah, I would say I've been very fortunate to actually have, so I guess like actual business wise, so I started the agency last October, so it's been like a year and a month, I guess. And I quit my job kind of cold turkey. Obviously I gave notice and all that, but I quit my job with like no clients signed. And so I was really going into it and I was like, I'm not going back to the corporate life. I'm going to make some business work. I don't know if it's going to be this business, but like we're going to make something work. And I kind of vowed to like not go back to corporate. And I definitely was in a spot that I was like, oh shit. For a while, I had like one client paying me like $800, which is not what I charge now.
yeah.
And that's all I had for like 2.5, 3 months. And I was like, okay, this is not looking great. And I realized that although I knew how to do marketing and all of that, building a business is so freaking different. And that was very eye-opening. And I was just like in a, oh boy, like what am I doing type moment. So I'd say like business-wise, that was probably like those 3 months were kind of like a low. It was really hard to like stay motivated and not just be like, okay, I'm just gonna like go look for another job or something like that. So that was tough. And then I guess more like personal wise, I'd say this summer was probably not like really a low, but more like I got burnt out 5 times probably, like to the point that, you know, like I was like getting myself like physically ill. Like I would get so sick that I'd be wiped out like flat on the couch for like 2 days and then would just like have to pick back up and catch up from those 2 days and whatever. So that was definitely not sustainable. I'm getting a little bit better at that now, but I was just working so many hours and that was probably like a low, like, I mean, I personally was like fine, but it was more just like I was burning myself out a lot, a lot.
So what was the conscious decision to do the marketing agency specifically? Like you could do anything, you know, you're on your own now.
Yeah.
Your job's gone.
Yeah.
You could do anything. You start a mom and pop shop. You
Yeah.
can do anything.
Yeah.
Why social media marketing?
So I actually looked at a bunch of different business ideas when I was first kind of like looking in that realm. I even like I was about to start like a clothing company with these like sweaters with butterflies printed, like just like random stuff that I like saw trending on Pinterest. And I'm like, oh, I can do that. Like weird things. Like I had actually quite a few like random business plans, like all scoped out that I'm like, okay, let's see which one's gonna work here.
What were some of the other ones?
So there's the clothing brand. There was like a health and wellness company that was actually gonna be like with a family member as well. What else did I have? Oh, of course, I looked into like drop shipping,
Yeah.
Amazon
Yeah.
FBA, like all these things. Yeah, the whole thing. And I think that for some reason, I kept like pushing off the agency. I have no idea why, but I was working out the costs and like, overhead for a lot of these businesses. I'm like, this is just not sustainable, like especially operating at like a low inventory and stuff like that. Like I wanted something big. And it just kept like coming back to me. I'm like, I know how to do marketing. I like social media. Like, why the hell don't I just start this eventually? And so I kind of one day was just like, yeah, you know what, like, let's do it. Like, this is the easiest thing. I have, I basically just need a laptop. I got that. Like, let's just run it. And so obviously, like, I'm passionate about what I do. I love marketing. I love the creative side. I don't know why exactly it kept getting pushed off in like to the back about all of these business ideas, but yeah,
That's
I was like, I know how to do this. Let's
Exactly.
do it.
And then what did the first day look like? You got your laptop, no clients.
No, I just had my laptop. So probably like a month before quitting my job, I kind of like started getting things moving and grooving. There's a lot of things that I did that I'm like, I don't know why I spent so much time on this because it literally means nothing now. Like, I was so worried about like getting incorporated right off the bat, which I mean, looking back, I'm like, okay, that was good, like tax wise, but like, did I need to spend so much time on that? No. Even like branding, obviously I needed branding, but like I was so nitpicky about it and then I've changed it like 3 times since, like also stupid. Building a website took so much time doing that, and then literally the day I launched, I switched it because I hated it. Like so many like little things like that were just like dumb. But yeah, like first day was really, I think I really just like sat down and I'm like, okay, how do I do anything here? Like first day I didn't even have that client. I think I got that like couple weeks in from a referral from someone. And yeah, I think I was just like, okay, like this is different now. Like when I was freelancing, even I had people approaching me. And I think that partly in my mind, I just assumed that everyone was going to keep approaching me, even though I was putting nothing out that would make them, like, I think I really just lucked out with the freelancing and then the job offer too.
Yeah.
I didn't apply for anything. It was just like, they came to me. So I was like, oh, easy. Like all these clients are just going to come running to me. Like it's happened before. And it was like crickets. And so like a week goes by and I'm like, oh yeah, they're going to come flooding in. And then they didn't. And I was like, okay, like this is not good. So it was much more about like, strategizing different outreach stuff then, and just trying to like get anyone at that point is kind of what that looked like.
What was the feeling when you like secured your first client? Like I know when we like first initially launched this podcast, it was like, oh, let's go big guest. We got like 5 views on that episode, and it was like, oh shit.
Yeah. I think it was obviously like an exciting moment. It kind of solidified and like confirmed what I was doing a little bit more. But like I said, it was not at like the rates that I was wanting to be charging or anything like that. So I was still like, okay, like if this is how it is, like we've got a long way to go, or in general, like I need to find more clients in general. So I guess like it was partially validating, but it was also like, okay, like we're in for a ride here if we're gonna make this work.
Is there a first client story, like how that happened?
It's honestly not too exciting. It was more like really funny. I was doing property management at my last job as well. And one of the tenants, I ended up talking with her, and she also ended up being like in marketing in the creative space. And so she actually referred me to the client. So no crazy story, but also like pretty funny that me and her got connected through that. It was more like at her move out that we started talking about all of that. So I guess good timing, and I guess one perk that came from that corporate job. But yeah. No crazy story. Yeah.
What's it like being a female in a particularly male-driven atmosphere, right? Like, there's not a lot of 22-year-olds that will go out and be like, yo, I want to start a marketing agency. So
I'd say, oh sorry, finish here. I would say I was actually a bit worried about that at first, and just being like, well, how is this going to work and whatever. And I've actually been shocked. Like, I get so much respect by like anyone else. Like, I don't really get, like even I have a lot of like male friends who are in the business space, and they're always like, fuck, like I wish I could be a girl in this space. Like they like they're so mad all the time. And it's funny, we have this running joke that I'm like like it's pretty funny. But yeah, no, like I feel like I'm very lucky. I haven't really ever been like, I think a lot of people worry about like getting talked down to or not being respected, or you know, people just like not like respecting you in general. And I feel like it's actually been like the opposite for me, which I've been very grateful for. I don't know if that's honestly a common experience or not. I don't like, I for sure have more male friends in the industry than female. But yeah, it's been like good. It's also been an advantage, I would say.
What's one aspect of like the entrepreneurship world that you didn't expect going in, or something that shocked you when you got there?
How many hours everyone works. Like it, like stuff really does never turn off, and like the people that do have that really good balance, like props to them. But also I'd say like, especially so in that time in April that I was kind of with that group of friends, I realized that, you know, obviously like people, you know, have their areas of expertise and they know what they're doing, but like no one actually has their shit together. Literally no one, like everyone is just like going day by day, and just obviously everyone has like their overall strategy and vision and all of that. But yeah, like the saying of like fake it till you make it is like very true. Like very true. And even like I don't even know what make it means to people anymore either. Like it really is just like, I couldn't even tell you the amount of times that, you know, I'll be like, and then I'll have to go like research everything, be like, I have no idea what I just like, I'm like, I don't know what the answer to this question, like, but you just figure it out. And as long as you show up like confident and like secure in yourself, people don't really question. But obviously everyone is also on the same page, and I think that was very eye-opening when I saw that with like, you know, some of these really, really big business owners that I'm like, they're just like me. They obviously also don't know everything all the time. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned, that not everyone knows everything. I
always feel like that when you like, you know, reach a certain point, or like sign like, let's say like a big contract, like you've manifested this, you've dreamt about this moment, and then you get there and you're like, what's next?
I know. Yeah, I was actually talking about like that with a few friends, and they were saying how it's actually crazy, because especially when you're manifesting, like you're always trying to put yourself in that feeling of like what it is when it happens. And yeah, like when it happens, it's some, like I could assume, especially like with like really big goals, that, you know, when you hit that, it's like, like what is next? Like it's almost like it's cool, but it's also kind of limiting, and I feel like it like fucks with a lot of people's heads, because it's like, okay, so like what is next? So yeah, that's definitely been like a.
So what keeps you going then? Like if you hit all your goals?
Well, I definitely have not hit all my goals. I would say just like, you know, it's more like those, you know, the first client of like, you know, X amount of dollars a month, or like, you know, hitting a certain revenue goal or stuff like that, I think is probably like the ones that I've been like, okay, like I set this for like, you know, the first 3 years and I hit it this year. I'm like, cool, killer, love it. But now I'm just like, okay, like let's like 10x it and just like go to the next. So I'd say that it's more, I don't know, I haven't had any big moments of like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do next. It's more just like, okay, on to the next. But I think that the celebration part is sometimes, I don't know, it's weird, because it's like, I don't know, when you hit it, it's like, oh, that wasn't that crazy, you know? And even though you've dreamt about it for so long, or, you know, it's been just like a big number or something like that, so.
Do you get numb to the numbers, in the sense that, okay, maybe you hit the first number, okay, I made this much revenue this month or whatever.
Yeah.
But the next month when you hit the same amount of revenue, it doesn't feel the same?
100%. 100%. Yeah. Like my business definitely we have like areas of, especially as I've learned like hiring people and delegating and stuff like that, that's been like a very big challenge. For me personally, I'm like a control freak, so I find it hard to, especially I found it hard to like give things away to other people. And so we definitely saw areas of like never dropping down, which like I'm very thankful, but like staying stagnant, and then like a big increase. And so definitely at those like stagnant moments, it's for sure not like hitting the first time at that revenue
Yeah.
is like, okay, cool, this is nice.
Yeah.
And then after it's like, okay, yeah, I'm expecting this, like, better go up,
Mhm.
So, yeah.
How do you manage that transition of giving up control in terms of, you've been in a business, this is your baby, right? And so you've built this, every single detail about what you're gonna do. And now you're more of transitioning from rather being in the work, you're looking at it and delegating tasks and being more of like the leader of the business. So instead of getting the food, you're given the food.
Yeah.
So what's that feeling like?
I'd say partially it's very rewarding. Like I said, like I really want to like build an empire, and I know that that's not going to be done alone.
Yeah.
I know that there's gonna be people along with me, so I'm very, very grateful for like the team that I do have. I'd say like I was just very specific with like who I brought on and stuff like that. It definitely was tough though, figuring out, like giving over that control. It was very tough at first, and I put it off for months longer than I should have. But it's like skyrocketed my business since. Like every time I bring someone else on, like we grow so much. Obviously there's so many things in like my day-to-day even now that like I don't need to be doing. It's more just like, I enjoy doing it or stuff like that. But the more that I can outsource that and like really work on like building the business, it's way, way, way better.
So what do you look for when you hire someone?
I guess it depends like which role they're in. The people that I've for sure taken more time in hiring have been like account managers, because they're the ones that are like in the client's accounts. Obviously like I put a lot of trust in them. Like they're, my clients, and like I'm putting it onto them as well. Obviously I still like oversee a lot of it, but the biggest thing, honestly, obviously like I look for some experience, but I'm always like mentoring my employees and stuff like that. But really just like drive and commitment are honestly the biggest things. I couldn't tell you if any of my employees have like gone to school or what they studied, or I don't even know what they do for work. Like before, like I actually have no idea. And maybe that makes me a little bit selfish. I don't know, but I more look at like the vibe and like the connection that I have with the person, and if I can tell that they're driven and passionate and committed. And I feel like anyone with those characteristics can, thrive and flourish in like a lot of different positions. So yeah, I wouldn't say that I look for like really specific like metrics or schooling or stuff like that. I more like really go off of vibe, which is kind of funny to to say, but yeah.
100%.
I mean, when what was the conscious decision to hire?
So the first person was definitely like my first hire was an account manager. And it was definitely just because I had an amount of clients that I was doing all the work for, and that's what my day was consumed of. And at that point, I was basically like buying myself a job, I was like working in the client's day to day, but I was doing nothing to grow my business, and I was capped at my time. So I think at that point I was like, okay, either I can stay at this, which I was like comfortable at like money wise, but I was like, that's not what I want. Like I want something bigger. And so I realized that, that had to involve other people, because I personally just did not have enough time to commit to those. So that was like the biggest reason that I initially hired, was I was just like, too much in the business and not, working in the business and not on it the same. Yeah.
And then when you, I was going to phrase this, but having a group of people, now you have an increased level of responsibility, right?
Definitely.
If the business does well, you do well.
Yeah.
But if business does not do well, it's on you.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Can you talk about that sort of pressure or that aspect of it?
Yeah, I think that, obviously when you're like a solo one-man show, it's like there's more like it's more comfortable at times, because you're right, like it's exactly like if I sign another client, I make this much more money, and if I don't, or like if I lose a client, I'm like, okay, like it's coming out of my pocket, which like sucks, but it's just like on me. But now having like other people to pay, and like other people are relying on me, it's definitely, I see it as a driver, honestly. Like it's kind of, I like pressure, like I thrive under pressure, so it's always for sure something just like weighing there, like these people are relying on their paycheck or like their invoice to be paid, right? And so like it's different, but I think the pressure like kind of like motivates me, honestly. So
it's kind of like what Regan said. It was like instead of being a barber, I'm going from being a barber to a boss, and that
Yeah.
transition's like very difficult.
Yeah.
What's keeping you like motivated in terms of inspiring your team? Like there's gonna be times where, you know, like the business is not making X dollars, and you're steady. But what's like the vision that you tell your employees that like, hey, trust the process, like this is gonna work out?
Yeah. I think honestly, I've never had anyone like really question me. Like they
Yeah.
all just seem pretty like focused on like what they're doing, and whatever I hand them to do, like they're like, yeah, like I'm like let's do it. I definitely do from time to time kind of have like talks about like, you know, vision and stuff like that. Like I said, like I want to build this pretty big, and I definitely see myself like, you know, bringing people like internally up with me, obviously. Like, you know, if I'm hiring like a COO, I'd much rather hire someone that's already on my team and bring them up instead of just bring someone outside into that role. So I think that for some, I think that really is motivating to them, especially ones that I'd say I have a couple people on my team that do have like entrepreneurial drive, and you know, if they like left and built their own agency, I wouldn't be surprised at all. But like I love that for them. Like I think that's so cool. And I think that for other people, they're much more like employee minded, which is also amazing. The mix is really cool. And so I think I structure my message almost differently to each person. So if I know that someone's pretty like more like employee driven, I'm like, okay, like there's big potential for you to be in like this bigger role. When others, I might structure the message a bit differently. So yeah, overall, I think everyone is kind of, you know, on board and is motivated, so it's good.
When you have someone that like has that entrepreneurial mindset, do you ever find it like conflict of interest of like, you know, they're trying to almost like get something out of it rather than like help you grow your own business? And like, how do you like, I don't know how to like the best phrase to say it, but like there's that conflict of interest of like, okay, you're just doing this to like grow something for yourself, or like you're trying to take away a client from myself.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that situation?
I definitely have thought about this before, and I think that I almost have like respect for them,
Right.
because I would do the exact same thing.
Exactly.
I would go like if I didn't start my agency, if I was switching to another job, I 100% would have gone to an agency, took every little piece of knowledge I could get from them, and go steal it and create my own. Like that's, so I'm almost like, yeah, you know what? If you want to steal all my processes, I kind of respect you for it. Like at the end of the day, I've really realized, like, you know, a lot of people will ask me like, are you super concerned about your competition and like all this stuff? I honestly, I couldn't even name you top competitors or anything like that, because I'm just like so focused on my own stuff that I really don't care. I think I've really learned that, you know, although you can have slight differences in your services and your offering and pricing and stuff like that, you know, there's so many marketing agencies, and at the end of the day, they really are buying me. Like, so, you know, someone can go and try to like replicate what I have going on, but like they're not going to be me. Like they're going to be their own person. And you know, if someone came on and was like, yeah, like in like a year, I want to go start my own agency, I'd be like, sure, if you want to like work for me, I'll teach you all I know and like go for it. Because I know that like we're very different people. Like, don't steal my clients, please. But like we're different people. And so at the end of the day, like I kind of respect them for doing it, I guess, even though it kind of sucks. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what, I do the same thing.
I mean, if you look at it at a long enough time horizon, it's just bound. Okay, they'll do it for a year, but then you know, I'm here for 10 years.
Yeah.
Like,
No, exactly. Exactly.
Like, steal my client, but I'm here for 10 years.
Yeah, literally. Exactly. Yeah. Like, you know, if someone really wants to go to that extent, I'm not gonna like, I'm like, go for it. Cool. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. Exactly.
They always come back.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
When you look at your entire day, how, because now you're working more on your business, or what's the split between on and in, and your percentages of what you do per day?
That's actually a great question. I had this talk with my business coach yesterday. I'd say I'm in a phase right now of, I'd say working a bit more on than in, which is nice. My day really does depend though. Like, you know, if like it's more about like my employees' questions and like reviewing their work and kind of strategy and stuff like that. So I guess it just kind of depends on like how much comes up from that. I obviously am talking with my clients, you know, daily, and then like meetings like weekly or bi-weekly too. So I would say right now it's maybe like a 60-40 split-ish of like 60% like in still and then 40% on. So I do want to like sway that a little bit more, but I would say that we're going through like more of a growth phase again right now. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's a juggle.
Sure. And when you say on, what does that mean?
I would say more like strategy, back-end processes, streamlining things, automating processes, stuff like that. I don't do any outreach, so I don't really spend time on like that part of things.
Okay.
But yeah, kind of just like making things as effective as possible. And then obviously I've learned a lot with hiring people that, I'm trying to put like guides together for like when more people come on, just like, yeah, really streamlining things that it's really easy, like onboarding for clients, onboarding for employees, all of that.
Do you feel like everything in your life is always business? Like whether you're with friends or, you're sitting on a podcast. Like,
Yeah.
Or do you have the ability to shut that off and be like, okay, let me just be a normal human being for once?
I would say like very rarely does
Yeah.
that happen, to be completely honest with you. I have sometimes people will be like, oh, like what are your hobbies? I'm like,
No.
work, the gym, sleep. Like that's about it. Like I don't. Honestly though, I love what I do though, so
Yeah.
it's okay for me. Like at this point in my life, I'm okay with it. Like I'm okay going through like a grind building phase, but yeah, like life is very much consumed by business. I also find that just in general, like the people that I surround myself with also do typically happen to be in business. I find that any like meaningless conversation to me, it's tough for me to have now because I just kind of find it a waste of time. Like time is so, I think I've like realized how precious time is. And so unless it's like, like I love those like deep conversations about like, building and strategizing and like life. So I find that talking to people that aren't on like the same path as me or that sort of thing is sometimes tough to have.
Right.
And so I think that in general, it kind of makes business like always like a forefront focus of my life in general.
That's the same thing with us. Like we can never go to a coffee shop and like sit there and just like not just talk about like, oh, what's up? Like
I know.
We'll walk in and be like the first thing is like, I pull out the calculator.
Yeah, I know.
And so the first thing we'll do is like, okay, first thing, average cost on the menu, okay, $20.
Yeah.
How many people are in this place? Like,
Yeah.
oh, 30
Yeah,
people.
they're raking it in.
We'll calculate their annual revenue in
Yeah.
like 10 seconds and then be like, okay, how can we improve this?
Yeah.
And
It's
so,
so much fun.
I love it.
It's
I
so
know.
much
It's
fun.
just like how I feel like, especially when you've kind of like switched to like entrepreneurship and just business in general, like everything, you see like life out of like a new lens. Everything it's so different. And yeah, like sometimes talking with people who aren't in business, I'm just like, how does your brain not, because like our brains are so different. I don't understand
I
this.
know it's cold outside.
Yeah.
We already talked about this.
Yeah,
It's
literally.
already snowing.
I know.
We already said it.
I know.
Do you have or a story from your, I'm putting you on the spot here, but do you have a story from your 1 year in entrepreneurship that was like a pivotal moment, a high moment, a low moment, something that you can look back on? Or if you were to write a book about yourself or a biography,
Yeah.
what would be one of those stories in there? And I'm putting you on the spot and I apologize.
Yeah,
for
no, that's okay. I think honestly that April story was probably like one of the biggest. Like I made a lot of life changes after that, just in general. So like when I got back, I think like I was just like eyes wide open. I was like, wow, like this is all so possible for me. So like right after that, like 2 weeks later, I moved out of my parents' house into a building in Winnipeg that I like definitely could not have afforded before, and it was like my dream building. And I always kind of like putting like I said, I like pressure, and so for me that was like, okay, pressure's on. Like you got rent to pay now. Like before I was just this like kid living at home, right? And I think that since then that's happened with just like a lot of things. I've done a lot of traveling. I've met insane people. And it's kind of just like compounded, honestly, all from like that week. That was like a crazy pivotal week for me. Even though like it all felt so normal when I was there and like looking like it's kind of like how my life just is on an average day now, but just being surrounded and like having my eyes open to that was big. And then now I was telling you, like, I'm moving to Toronto now. So, like, once again, that's another big, like, okay, pressure's on. Like, Toronto's not cheap. Like,
Drake's next door.
yeah, Drake's next door. But yeah, it's just like lots of like big things happening. And like, that's how I said, you know, like since April, my life has changed a lot. And so even like looking at like future goals, I don't even like putting, I guess like I have goals, but I don't have timelines because I can see how fast things can change. And I think that this next year is going to be really fun. So, yeah.
I think everyone on social media thinks everyone has it all together, right? And their life is perfect. So if you don't mind, what happened in April?
So like the specific.
Yeah, like whatever, like what was the moment that like you're like, okay, I gotta make some changes?
I would say, so like when I was with just spending time with those people, I think just like that alone was eye-opening to see like, you know, I saw their day-to-day and like what they had going on with their companies, and I was like, I literally do the same stuff, or like I like it was just, it felt so more like in so much more in reach. And so like I grew up in a small town outside of Winnipeg, so I think going from like, you know, big city fun life in Toronto for that week and then coming back to like live with my family in like small town vibes, I was just like I felt very limited. And I think that, you know, a big thing with my business and even like the kind of the rate that it started building momentum and taking success with was when I more just like started putting myself out there. And I think that living where I used to put a damper on that. I was very like scared to put myself out there. You know, everyone knows everyone. It's even more small town than Winnipeg. Like it was like actually a small town. So I think that just getting out of the like an environment change was like a very big pivotal moment for me.
What are some of the projects you're working on? So you have your marketing agency. Is there any other projects that you're involved in or that you're working on?
I have a few different ones. Obviously, like I have clients kind of all over the place. And then I'm also working on an app. So that's also kind of like a new venture. They're a client as well, but I have a bit more of like a more intense, I guess, position with them. Like there's more to it. So I'm a fractional CMO with an app. And so that's also been like a really fun venture to take on. Lots of really cool people on board for that team, and it's a really cool project. So that's kind of like the biggest one outside of.
Are you able to talk
my
about
agency.
that project at all?
Yeah, I can talk about it.
What's the project?
So it's an app called Atom. It's an all-life digital asset manager. So we built it basically around the question, like, what happens to your digital assets when you die? So for most people, you know, unless you like share your whole phone password and everything is like either lost or not transferred on to loved ones. So basically an app was built around that concept. So it's a really fun thing. We have some, you know, fun events that we've attended. We have a big one at the end of, or I guess beginning of next year, CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. I think that's what that stands for, but it's a big one. I think it's like the biggest in North America, and it's in Vegas. So that's going to be really exciting to attend. We're all pumped for it. So it's kind of just like prepping and planning for that. Yeah.
So why go into, the reason I ask is because we had Regan Tran on the episode, which you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And one thing that I took from his episode was too many rabbits. You're chasing too many rabbits.
Yeah.
You gotta kill some of your rabbits.
Yeah.
We love rabbits.
Yeah.
But you not too many projects going on. You're focused on too many things. And we found that we found that a lot. Okay, we're doing podcasts on this side, we're doing marketing on this side.
Yeah.
Clothing agency here, we're gonna do this, like, you know, we're gonna sell milk.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna do so many things.
Don't give away the secret.
We're gonna do so many things. And so cutting those off was like, it was hard.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, no, we can't be great at everything. We have to pick one thing.
Yeah.
Do you find that with yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I'd definitely say that I wouldn't be taking on any additional projects for sure. In my time, like with the app as well, I definitely have used my team to start delegating more things too. So that was a good pivot that I made. I was spending a lot of time on it for a while, and I did see kind of like more of like the stagnant part with my business. And once I kind of like stepped not out of it, but started delegating more through that. I'm fortunate enough to have the team already with my agency, so I can kind of just throw things over to them. That's been very, very helpful. But I definitely did see, the effects of having like, too many things going on. So, and obviously like, I mean, it's just two, but it's more than just having your focus all in one. So I definitely, my business is like my main priority. It's my baby, right? So that's where, a lot of my focus goes to. And then obviously these other projects, I have obviously time towards it, but I am able to like delegate more stuff so that I still have my focus really on my stuff.
From all this, I can tell that you're a very driven person and that your mindset is like phenomenal, especially for a young age. Where did you develop that?
So kind of crazy. I've had this question asked a few times actually, and I don't have like a really specific answer other than the fact that I'd say probably about a year and a half ago, I did like a lot of mindset work, or maybe even like 2 years ago now. And a big thing, like I did a lot of like limiting belief clearing and like stuff like that. And I realized that like I had a lot of these concepts and ideas just from growing up that I don't even think like no one like forcefully put them on me, but they were just kind of like in the back of my head. And I think I did a lot of work on that, just like a lot of personal growth stuff. I listened to a ton of podcasts. I had actually one person say this to me, and I'm sure you guys have probably heard it, but it really stuck is, you are a direct correlation of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so when I realized that, I was like, oh boy, like this isn't good. And I realized before I, had a lot more of these connections in business and stuff like that, I really turned that to, I can make like a podcast, like this host, the person that I spend the most time with. And so I started like feeding myself with a lot of these things. And so even when I didn't have the physical people that I wanted to be like, I was like reinforcing that like through other resources. So that was a big thing, and I've kind of taken that on with me now. So I'd say that's kind of like how this developed. Yeah.
That's cool.
Who are the 5 people in the business world that maybe aren't in the city of Winnipeg that you're looking at? It doesn't have to be 5.
I could tell. So I'd say so biggest, like especially like podcasts and stuff like that. I spend a lot of time listening to Alex Hormozy. Like love him. He's incredible. I was on who else? Jay Shetty for sure for like more mindset stuff like that. Less business, but also great.
On Purpose is amazing.
It's a great podcast. It's so good.
Shout out Jay Shetty if you're watching.
Yeah, shout out Jay Shetty. I'm trying to think. Oh my gosh, what's his name? Ed Milet is pretty good too. Love him. Why am I like blanking on all of these names right now? Like Alex Hormozy is definitely by far like I'm like consumed by him constantly. Like I'm always listening to his stuff. He's like my idol.
So smart. So smart.
Yeah, no, he's literally a genius. So I'd say he's probably like those 3 are pretty big ones. And then I did a lot of like Bob Proctor for a while. Rest in peace, Bob Proctor. But like read a few of his books. Stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. What are your goals now? Right. Is there a specific number or a specific achievement that you want to hit?
So this next year, I've set a revenue goal of $50,000 a month.
Cool.
So that's my next one to hit. It's kind of one of those numbers that like obviously I've broken down how to hit it, but I'm like, okay, like let's kick it into gear. Yeah. So that's definitely my next one. Probably a good thing I said it on here because now it keeps me even more accountable.
We'll clip it.
Yeah, literally. Throw it back to me in a year and be like, Brynn.
Where you at?
Yeah. So that's definitely a big one. And yeah, just like honestly continuing to build the team. I don't have like a really specific number for that, but yeah, I think like $50K a month would be like a pretty cool place to be at. Kind of being able to say that I've hit that in 2 years of business would be kind of cool. So by the end of next year, I mean, potentially even sooner, but like, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were to walk away from this podcast and think to yourself, I wish those guys asked me this one particular question, what would that question be?
Oh.
Or is there anything
Actually,
that you,
yeah, I do have one thing. Okay, so like, I'll try to break this down quick. How the thing that made my business go from like that one $800 a month client to kind of like blowing up ish, was a TikTok video that went like viral ish. I guess it's like almost at 1 million views now. It wasn't even super specific to like my services, but it was marketing specific. And I put off posting on TikTok for so long because I was so scared of what other people would think of me. It went back to that like whole small town mentality, like, you know, not knowing a lot of people that were doing what I was doing. Everyone was like, what the hell does this girl think she's doing, right? So I felt really weird posting about a lot of this stuff. And I think after that happened and, you know, I saw the impact that it made on like my income and my business and all of this, I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I did this sooner and I wish I didn't wait. And I think I realized that so many people are so caught up in their own shit that they really don't care about what you're doing. And if they do care about what they're doing, you shouldn't be like focusing on those people anyways, because they have way too much time on their hands. Yeah. So that was like a really big realization that I had, and it definitely was like the reason between like my business failing and succeeding. So
how long did you put off putting on TikTok?
Probably like a good like 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So, and it probably took, I think after like posting regularly, it took like 2 months for it to kind of like blow up ish. So yeah, that definitely could have been expedited if if I just didn't care to start off. But that was a big learning point for sure.
Let's touch on social media as well. Short form content has taken over the world.
Oh my gosh, crazy, crazy.
What are your thoughts on short form content? I'm sure we all love it. But
I mean, it's incredible. I think that it's, you know, it's an amazing way for brands to get message out so quickly. And if it's structured right, you know, there can be crazy impact with it. I do though see like long form content. I think it's gonna make a big comeback, and I think it already is. But I think that we're all fingers. I do see that though. I think that, you know, people they're craving authenticity these days, and although like, you know, we've even seen with like Alex Earl and stuff like that on TikTok, like very authentic but still short form. But I think that, you know, people kind of crave, you know, learning more about people again. So I think that like YouTube and stuff like that is going to come back even more. It's not like it went away like completely, but I think that it could start picking up again more. But no, short form content is incredible. And I think that it's, you know, one of the best ways for brands to really get their message across to their audience.
It's an art at the end of the day, like clipping and retaining someone's attention for at least 10 seconds.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
So are you always looking at numbers when it comes to short-term content? Like we sit down pretty much like every Sunday and we'll try to like, okay, why didn't this TikTok?
Yeah.
Or why didn't this like YouTube video retain this much attention? So
yeah.
Are you more numbers driven, or you're just like, okay, whatever flies?
No, definitely numbers driven as well. I always like, you know, going on videos and you can see exactly like where the drop off rate is, stuff like that. And, you know, tweaking things based on that is always really cool to do, and seeing, like, I always like figuring out like why, you know, so, you know, for certain videos, they'll be like, oh, this person like left the clip at this point and then like everything dropped off. So kind of figuring out the whole strategy behind that is always really, really cool. And then, you know, it's really fun, like implementing those changes and then seeing, you know, the results from that. So I love the analytics side as well, for sure.
If you could give one actionable piece of advice to like a business that maybe has a social media, but they're not really like putting too much effort and they want to do it themselves. They don't want to go to the agency or they're too scared or whatever their beliefs are. What's one piece of advice you would give them, like they could start tomorrow, whether it's a platform, whether it's a type of content that would really work?
I would say for most businesses, so, okay, TikTok has for sure the most potential for virality quickly. You know, if you post consistently on there and it's quality content, even, I mean, there's random videos that are like so, like, they're like the weirdest things that go viral. But I would definitely say, you know, just like, honestly, in general, like across the board, just like post. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like a lot of people really get caught up on like, oh, this isn't perfect or whatever. Literally just get stuff out there. I mean, I'm biased. We're specific to Instagram and TikTok, but those are definitely my favorite. And I think that they have really big potential for brands. So I would definitely say like focus your effort there, but obviously depending on like target audience and stuff like that, they may be other places. But kind of having like, you know, a TikTok for, you know, the potential for a lot of awareness, and then having Instagram for more nurturing, having those two combined is a good place to start, at least. And I think that most businesses could definitely utilize both of the platforms. They're pretty easy to use. And like I said, like obviously quality content is best, but just like post.
Is there any advice you could give to the listeners out there that are wanting to pursue this entrepreneur journey or have a limiting mindset of saying that, oh, I can't do this, or this person, I'm scared about what others are going to think? What is some advice you could give to the general audience out there who wants to do something in their life?
I mean, I know that everyone says this, but like literally just start something. I've learned so much since starting, and unless I think a lot of people really wait until they know everything. And the thing is that no one knows everything ever. And so just starting, like you will learn so much more, so much faster than waiting to try to like do all the research and have everything like so specific. So I'd say like that's my biggest thing. I know that everyone says it, but like I truly do mean it. Like just start something, and you know, if it doesn't work, then pivot and figure it out, and you know, see what's next. But yeah.
All right.
Well, on that note, I don't do the outros usually, but on that note, thanks for liking, comment, subscribing. Brynn, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks.
If you guys are looking for a marketing agency in TikTok and Instagram, that's the girl to hit up. If you're looking for a good quality podcast, we're the place to hit up.
Nice.
And until next time, peace.
See ya.
Peace, guys.
All right, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.